Good morning, everyone. Janey here. Welcome back to my garden. It is early morning. I have my coffee and I thought I would do a morning walkabout for my September front garden tour. So those of you who watch my channel know that every single month I do a front garden tour and a back garden tour. And I do it for a couple of reasons. One, to show you all how my garden is looking these days. Two, just to kind of have a record of what my garden looks like in September. So I can look back maybe in the winter if I'm planting my garden, I can look back and I can see how everything is looking. And then three, it gives me motivation. If I feel like my garden is not looking its best, I can kind of look back a couple months, and I mean just 6 months ago, this garden looked completely different, and it makes me feel so much better when I look back. So it really is fantastic. Here is Monty. You'll notice he has a donut on. Monty, show everyone your donut. Oh yes, and you found a stick. Congratulations. He got neutered a couple days ago. He's handling it very well. We're trying to keep him calm, but of course that's very difficult. So you'll see him walking around with his little donut on, and that is why he's totally fine. It's a totally normal procedure, especially for his age. He's just about 1 year old. So let me get started up here by the front porch and my Zigzag Planter. The Zigzag Planter is looking beautiful, and the reason why it's looking beautiful is because of the purple fountain grass, which is a bit much. I'll be the first to admit this purple fountain grass is only supposed to get 4 feet tall and wide, and I think it's a bit more than that. I am going to be taking these out just because they are way too big. I also already put some string around them just to kind of hold them up. Otherwise, they would literally take over this whole Zigzag Planter, which I love. That is one thing that I've realized about the Zigzag Planter is I have to have grasses in the Zigzag Planter. So for next year, I have another grass. I'm going to be taking these out in just a couple months, retransplanting them into another part of my garden, and then putting a new grass in. The new grass that's going in, it might be a big one too. Just kind of thinking about it. But you know what? That's okay. We'll worry about that later. So the Dichondra Silver Falls that's here, this is a perennial for us here in Zone 9B. So it's beautiful. I do cut it back just to kind of keep it looking neat. But I do think I'm going to be taking this out as well. So, which I know I'm going to be putting something else in. I do want to show you all over here. This is my Super Beina pink cashmere, which is, I mean, look at how beautiful this plant is. It is so gorgeous. I love it. It is such a beautiful pink color, especially in the morning sun. But I do have to show you that Super Beina are susceptible to budworms, just like supertunias and geraniums are. So you can see when you see your Super Beinas kind of looking like that, we've been fertilizing them, we've been watering them, but they're just kind of not blooming as much as they should. That's usually a sign of budworms. And I know it's budworms because if you notice what's missing back here, I did have 3 hanging baskets back here, and I cut them back. They were looking a bit rough, and then we got attacked with budworms. I mean, attacked. I looked at it and it had I saw like 10 budworms on each of them. So we just decided just to scrap them. I'm going to do some fall hanging planters. But we're definitely having an outbreak of budworms right now in our garden. But I think it's important to show it so that you can see what plants look like when you have budworms on them. Mainly, I don't have any supertunias up here in the front garden, but I do have them in the back garden. I'll show you budworm damage in my back garden tour, but you can kind of see what it looks like on Super Beinas. And it's a very easy fix. All you have to do is spray BT. We had been spraying BT once a week, but Jason and I got really busy, and I think we missed 2 weeks, and I think that was detrimental for us because it was definitely the wrong time of year to be missing 2 weeks. So we're back on our schedule now, but you can kind of see the effects of it. And it's okay. It happens. Here is my Fragrant Delight heliotrope. This plant is so amazing. I love it so much. It smells so good, especially in the morning and the evenings. And it's just a beautiful plant. So this is my front Zigzag Planter for September. It's looking good. It could be a little bit better. But I just love the grasses. You just cannot beat the grasses. Okay, moving on to my Star Jasmine espalier right over here. It is, man, it is growing. It is growing so much. So I planted this about a year ago. It was one of my first projects when we moved into this house a year ago. So think about a plant as a sleep, creep, leap. So now it's officially in its creep year, and I'm definitely noticing it is starting to grow a little bit more than it has been. And I'm really excited about it. Let me show you a couple clips that I just saw in past garden tours, and you can see the difference that it's making. So an espalier, you have to be patient, but once it gets up, once it fills all in, oh my goodness, it is one of the most amazing garden installations you can do on a blank wall. And I just love them, and I think they add so much to a garden. And yes, they are some work, and you do have to be patient, but it is so, so very worth it. Right underneath the espalier, I have Super Beina Whiteout, and you can see this kind of got affected by the budworms as well. I'm not too worried about it. Again, we've sprayed it, and it just needs some time to recover at this point, but it will definitely recover. Now, I think for next year, I think I want some more color. This was going to be my black and white garden. I had some black mondo grass in here, and then the Super Beina Whiteout. I think I'm going to change it. I'm really craving some color right here against the white wall with the espalier. So I think that that's going to be a little bit different next year. Just, you know, and that's kind of what you do is you go through and you figure out what you like and what you don't like, and then it's completely fine to change. Now, Super Beina is an annual for most people, but for us here in Zone 9B, it is what's called a temperennial. It's a perennial, but like it can get nipped if we get down really, really cold for some reason. So this would technically last, but I think I'm going to transplant it anyway. And then coming over here, holy cow, look at this Truffa pink gomphrena. This plant, I mean, you just can't beat this plant. It's just so incredibly amazing. Now, one thing that's not as amazing is the lavender twist redbud I have right here. It did get a like a fungus. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'm going to put it on the screen. It's totally fine. I've sprayed it. It's just these leaves already got affected. There are some new leaves. Let me show you over here on this side. There are some new leaves coming out looking a lot better, so I know I'm kind of on the right track, but I'm just kind of waiting to get this plant through this season, let it go dormant, and then I'm going to be a lot better about spraying some copper fungicide because it's just, I think it just got stressed. You know, we did have, I mean, I'll show you all in a bit, we did have gophers bad this year, and if you look over here, there's a white flag, and that was because there was a gopher hole right there, and it did stress everything out quite a bit. We have a soccer ball that Monty brought over here to show you all. I will show you all the gosh, I don't even know what to call this anymore, you guys. So this, I was calling my secret shade garden because I thought it was a shade garden. It is not a shade garden. This side is a shade garden. This side is a sun garden. So I don't even know what to call it anymore, but I'll go over this in the back garden tour. I do want to point out my black walnut tree, which is, I mean, it's not mine. It's my neighbor's. It's over there. All of these trees that you can see right here are my neighbor's trees. I like it because I like that it gives it some shade right here. I think it's really pretty. It's just very, very annoying to plant underneath. Very annoying. So the black walnut secretes a chemical called juglone that makes it really hard for some plants to grow underneath it. There's like a whole list of plants that are super sensitive to it. So I'm being very conscious now of what plants I plant underneath. And any type of ornamental grasses is completely fine. Cone flowers can handle it. Begonias can handle it over there. Daylilies, which I planted over here. This is called Primal Scream. It's a beautiful orange daylily. That's going to be able to handle it fine. But I just have to be very, very careful with what I plant underneath this black walnut tree, which is quite annoying. So now we're headed into my orchard garden, otherwise known as my Best for the West garden. And I call it my Best for the West garden because I'm only planting plants in this garden that can handle hot, dry weather. And it's kind of like think of it as like a trial garden, because some of the plants I'm learning what works and what doesn't work. And when I find something that works, it's really exciting. And I can say, oh, this plant is fabulous if you live in a hot, dry environment like I do. So you can see here I have denim and lace Russian sage on the side. This is a Miss Molly butterfly bush that I am loving, and it grew so fast this year. I just planted this Eureka Lemon right here, and I'm so happy I did, because my orchard actually didn't have a lemon tree, and so I'm really excited to get it started. It probably won't fruit for me for another 2, maybe 3 years, but at least now I have it started. Eureka lemons are evergreen, so this is going to be Evergreen Interest, which a lot of people ask why I don't have conifers and why, I don't have a lot of like winter interest. But one thing to remember is that here in zone 9B, like this is my winter interest, which is gorgeous. This is my winter interest, which is gorgeous, right? And I've come to realize that I don't want my garden to look like a garden in another zone. I want my garden to look like a garden, a California garden, at least for the Best for the West. So when I plant a lemon tree, it's not only just for the lemons, but it's also for the winter interest, which I'm really excited for this guy to grow up and get big and get beautiful. Over here, I want to show you my hot and cold Nyphophia. This is one of those plants. Nyphophia is one of those plants that are just so good in hot environments, and I don't think it gets enough recognition for how good it is. One thing about Nyphophia is you do have to be on top of deadheading, because if you don't deadhead, it won't bloom. But as soon as you deadhead, it shoots up new bloom stalks, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Another plant that has just been a rock star, absolute rock star, is Whirlwind Blue Scaevola. Look at how pretty. Look at how pretty this plant is. It is so gorgeous. And it's been like this absolutely all season long. So this is an annual for us here in zone 9B. I think in zone 10 it would be a temperennial for all of you, but it is just such a beautiful plant, as is across, which is the Surefire Rose Begonia. This one, I talk about this one all the time. It's so fantastic because you can have sun, you can have shade, you can have heat. It doesn't matter. This plant is going to be super happy and bloom, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Now this one is hardy down to zone 10 as well. So it's technically an annual for us, but I have had it winter over. So I am planning on just leaving it right here and seeing what happens. I'm actually going to leave the Scaevola as well and see what happens, because you never know. You never know if something is going to overwinter for you, if you have a mild winter or something like that. So the next plant I want to point out is my summerific hibiscus right here. And I wanted to point this out. This is Ballet Slippers summerific hibiscus. I wanted to point this out because you can see how well it's doing. I just planted this a couple months ago, and when I was digging the holes here, I was actually planning to put this Helen von Stein lamb's ear right over there. I thought it would look really pretty right over there. However, when I was digging the holes, there was water sitting in the bottom of the holes, and it wasn't moving. Like after a couple hours, it wasn't moving. So I knew I had really bad drainage right there. So instead of putting these plants that can't really handle bad drainage, I have put a summerific hibiscus that can handle some standing water, and you can see how well it's doing. So, it's just kind of the type of thing that you kind of have to work around the issues that you have, and you can find the right plant for the right spot. And that is definitely the right plant for the right spot. Just to the left of that, I have my Super Beina Cobalt. You can't tell it's Super Beina Cobalt because there's no blooms left on this plant. And this is, again, budworm damage. And when I first noticed it, when you first notice it, it takes about 2 or 3 weeks to recover. So we're right in recovery mode right now. But if your Super Beina look like this, same thing with your Super Petunias. If they're just not blooming, they're supposed to bloom like crazy. So if they're not blooming, there's something wrong. You're either not fertilizing, not watering, or you probably have budworms, and I'm sure I have budworms on here. So like I said, we're taking care of it, just like the pink cashmere over there, and you know, in a week or so, it's gonna look totally fine. Over in this area, this garden bed, yeah, it's been fun. You can see we have white flag there, white flag there, white flag over there, white flag there, and those, like I said, all indicate those are gopher holes. So we definitely have gopher activity in this garden bed, and I didn't plant anything in gopher baskets, but now I will be planting stuff in gopher baskets. But I've lost a whole bunch of things. I had 3 Estrelita little stars right here that were beautiful. Totally gone, absolutely gone. And then over here, I actually just noticed this yesterday. This is my Gatsby Gal oak leaf hydrangea. Yeah, it's gone. I'm so sad because this was such a pretty plant. I'm going to replant this one for sure, but yeah, oh, darn gophers. So like I said, everything from now on, at least in this area, is definitely getting a gopher basket because I'm just tired of losing plants. I had an amazing artichoke right here. I mean, amazing. And just after one day, it was gone. I don't know why the gophers didn't get these 2 cardoons, but I'm really happy that they didn't because they look pretty. And then this is Sweet Romance Lavender. I know it looks kind of funny how they're planted right now. They were planted around cardoons and artichoke plants, but now that those are gone, I'm going to revamp the Sweet Romance Lavender. I'm going to change this a little bit to something really pretty, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer till it cools down just a little bit. This is my pomegranate tree, and you all know I'm not very nice to this pomegranate tree. To me, it looks a little bit scrubby. I'm not going to get rid of it because look at how many pomegranates I have. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. There's tons. What I am going to do, though, is this winter, when it loses all its leaves, I'm going to prune it like crazy, and I'm going to stake it up, and I'm going to make it into more of a tree form. I saw one of these in tree form at my local garden center, and it looked so much better than this. So I'm going to be working on that this winter. But pomegranate tree, they're just not my favorite. They're just not my favorite, but I can't give up on this guy because holy cow. And it takes a couple years for pomegranates to start producing. So the fact that I have a mature one, I mean, I can't get rid of that. Okay. I'm trying to shade the sun a little bit. This area right here is my favorite part of my garden. I think it is so, so beautiful, probably because I have the lemon coral sedum lining the pathway. I think I am going to extend this out. This is, again, an evergreen for us, so I'm going to have this color along the pathway all season long, like even in the dead of winter. So I just think it's really, really beautiful. I have the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta behind there. I have my Orange Blaze Nyphophia that I just recently deadheaded, so there's a couple blooms. There's more coming, but it's just the type of thing, it's one of those that you have to keep deadheading. Behind that, I have Denim and Lace Russian Sage. And then this beauty. I am shocked how much I like this plant. This is an Esperanza. This is Chiclet Orange Esperanza. Holy cow, there's actually 2 plants right here. And they are absolutely gorgeous. They are so, so gorgeous. So this is supposed to be more of a dwarf version of the trumpet vine. If people like the trumpet vine, then that's great, but trumpet vine goes everywhere. This guy stays compact at 6 foot tall, I think 4 feet wide. I think that's what it is. And it's just really, really beautiful. I am enjoying it so much. Another one that I'm enjoying this time of year is this Beyond Pinked Caryopteris. It's so beautiful. It does nothing all season long. It just sits there as like a shrub. And then all of a sudden it gets close to fall and boom, it's just all this beautiful baby pink color. It is so, so gorgeous. And it's so good for fall interest. It's just one you have to put it in. You got to make room for it because it's so pretty. And there's a blue version, and I am definitely putting the blue version in my garden as well because this plant is just so gorgeous. I will say it is a very delicate plant. You can bump it and knock a branch off. It's very brittle. So just be super careful when you're planting it or when you're working around it because I've done that. You can see there's a couple holes and that was me. I think some of it was me and some of it was Monty. Right here, this is the Evolvulus blew my mind. It's still very early, so not all of the flowers are open. Some of them are starting to open, and this plant, whew, this is a good plant. This is just I've just done nothing with it, and you can see it's kind of trailing over. It's a beautiful true blue color in the garden, and it's just so fun that it pops open in the morning and then it closes up at night. It's just such a pretty, pretty plant. So moving this way, I want to show you guys my white pillar rose of Sharon. I love this plant. Look at how pretty it is. It's going to get a lot bigger. I think it gets 12 feet tall, but not wide at all, like just a couple feet wide, which I think is going to be perfect right next to my hose link, because I'm still going to be able to navigate my hose link around it, but it's going to be nice and tall and grow right in between these olive trees, which are, again, my neighbor. Actually, I think this is an almond and this is an olive tree. My neighbor's still gorgeous. I still like it. I still like having it. Yeah, it's messy, but I still love having it over here, hang over the fence. Okay, so yesterday I had come out here with this basket to harvest limes off of my lime tree, and I felt like I was being attacked by this bug right here. Let me show you this clip. What on earth? What on earth? Turns out it's called a figeater beetle, and they're apparently incredibly clumsy and incredibly loud, and they're very common in Southern California, and someone told me to get out a tennis racket because that's how you keep them away from you, which is terrible, absolutely terrible. It freaked me out. I ended up just running inside, and so I left my harvest right here. So that's why that's sitting there. I don't hear them right now. They're very, very loud. And if I hear them, I'm probably going to walk away very quickly. Right underneath here, this is a new plant for Proven Winners. This is new for 2025. It's called Unplugged White. There is an Unplugged Blue version of this Salvia. And now this is a new color, and it is beautiful. If you have a moon garden or you like color palettes, you know what I mean, like purples and whites and blues and stuff like that, this plant is absolutely gorgeous. Now, white plants are sometimes hard, white salvias, because sometimes they get like the brown, you know, and then that's all you see is the brown on it. And this one, unless you get really, really close, you don't really notice the brown blooms, like the faded blooms. It's just so pretty, and every time I walk by here I think, oh, that's a good plant. So this is a good plant for sure. So just past the Unplugged White Salvia, I have Ladybird Sunglow Calliophus, I have Sweet Romance Lavender, and then I have Pink Perfusion Salvia. 3 total winners. Now the Salvia, I have been lazy and I didn't deadhead it. Oh, look at that. Perfect timing. Thank you, hummingbird. I hadn't deaded. I have not deadheaded it all year. And if I deadheaded it, it would look even better, but it's still looking pretty good. Like, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all. So this is such a winner of a plant. And then so is the Calliophus. And then of course the Sweet Romance Lavender. I did cut back the Sweet Romance Lavender, I think in like June, I would say, or July, and it really made a huge difference because I got a whole nother flush of blooms. So one of the things that we're focusing on this fall is trees. Trees in our garden. We didn't rush planting trees. I mean, we planted a couple. We planted that deodar cedar right there, and then coming over here, we planted this weeping willow right there, which I was both really happy with, but I knew we needed a lot more trees. It's such a big decision for me. It's such a big decision, and I got really nervous about it. So we just waited, and I'm glad we did, because now I feel super confident of what trees I wanted where. And this one right here is a Keith Davey Chinese pistache. It is hands down my favorite tree. I love the foliage, and I love the foliage in the fall that turns this beautiful red color. We have another one of these in the backyard, and I just thought having another one repeating in the front yard would just be so gorgeous. So Jason and I just planted this just a couple days ago, and man, I am absolutely loving it. And then in front of there is a panicum. It's Niagara Falls. It's beautiful silvery blue color, which is gorgeous. And I am going to extend it out a little bit further to match, to come and connect with this tree right here. I know it doesn't look like a tree. It looks like a shrub right now, but I am going to prune it up into a tree. This is called a 7 sunflower tree. It's or heptacodium. I think that's the scientific name. You can see mine's young, but it's just starting to bloom. And then after these bloom, these are going to turn into these beautiful pink bracts that are going to stay on for a while. And then of course we have the gorgeous bark. So it's just a really great tree that I've been so excited to get. And now I'm happy I have it in. It will get about 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. So it'll look like a baby compared to the Chinese pistache, which is going to get huge. And so how big is it going to get? 40 feet tall, I want to say. So anyway, it's going to be really beautiful, and I'm going to have a lot more shade here, which is what I want. We are going to be extending out the pathway to come around here. I don't think that that's going to happen next year, because next year we are focusing on the center island, which I'm so excited about. So I've told you all this for a while, but the center island we had absolutely no plans for this year, just because we were focusing on the orchard garden and we were focusing more on the backyard. But because we had such a blank space, I couldn't help myself. I wanted to plant some cut flowers, and I am so glad we did, because if you notice over here on this side, the flowers look beautiful. Over here on this side, they look absolutely terrible. And there's two reasons for this. One is because this is our leach field over here on this side of the center island. And two, we didn't amend the soil over here on this side of the island. We did amend the soil over here. And you can just see what a huge, huge difference it is. So I'm so happy. I'm so thankful that I ended up planting this cut flower garden, because it made me understand my garden so much more. And so now I have such a better grasp on how this garden is going to be able to handle what I'm going to do to it next year. So next year, we're going to be putting a dry creek bed kind of through, you can see kind of through the pathway. We might do a little bit of a water feature or something. And then we're going to have another pathway come through here. And so we have trees. We bought a whole bunch of trees that we're going to be planting. We're going to be planting the trees this fall. And then over the winter, we're going to be working on the hardscape and everything. And then I am planning to plant a native California no-mow lawn over here over the leach field area, which I'm super, super, super excited about. But that's going to take a little bit of time before we put in all the other stuff. So I'm super happy with the center island this year. I think it was so useful. All of this stuff is coming out. Like, it's going to be blank in a couple months, probably 2 months or something. But this cut flower garden was so incredibly useful this year. So useful. So another garden bed that was kind of a mystery to me this year, and I have a lot better... I was going to say I have a lot better understanding of it. No, it's still a mystery. I'm still working on it. And that is my long border right here. My long border, the soil is terrible. It's very, very rocky. I think that whoever lived here before, whoever installed this driveway, put a lot of the debris into this long border over here, because as I was planting this tree just the other day, this is a tulip poplar tree that I'm super excited about. It's going to get about 80 feet tall, and eventually it'll have these spring blooms that literally look like tulips, which is so fun. When I was planting that, it was like, oh, this soil sucks. Let me show you. See? So it's super, super rocky, and it just doesn't look like good soil. So what I want to do is I want to come through and I want to mend all of this with a good 6 inches of compost. And I'm just going to do it right over the wood chips, so that the organic matter of the wood chips is going to be in the soil as well. And then I'm just going to keep doing that year after year, and hopefully start making this soil a little bit more usable. Because right now things are kind of they're just struggling. I mean, the sumerific hibiscus looks great. My pink velour crepe myrtle is just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. But like, I have some coreopteris here that is just not happy. And then I have my March blooming garden over here that is just a sad, sad sight. So it's all right. It is what it is. I'm still learning. I'm figuring things out. And I'm figuring out this property and how to work with it. So it's just going to take some time. Over here, you can see my miniature corn stalks. They're supposed to get 7 or 8 feet tall, and they are not 7 or 8 feet tall. And I think that that is, again, just the leach field and the lack of amending soil over here. So again, it's a very, very good lesson. The corn stalks were planted to disguise this propane tank that is here. We are not allowed to paint it. I know a lot of people suggest that a lot. We are not allowed to paint it because we rent it, and it's not worth it to me to do anything to it because we are going to be getting rid of it this winter. Well, not get rid of it. We're going to get a smaller one, put it in a less conspicuous place, and have to do plumbing and repiping and all that kind of stuff. So it is definitely an investment to move this stupid thing, and it's just been such an annoyance to me this whole year. And once the corn grew up around it, it stopped bugging me so much. But I know that corn is coming out in a month or so, it's time to move it. So thank you for your suggestions. I had a lot of people suggest that I paint it like a watermelon or like a submarine, and it's like, that's cute, but I'm not painting it because I don't want to pay the propane company any more than I have to. And if I'm returning this in a couple months, I don't want to return a submarine or a watermelon and get charged for it. Okay, and then finally over here, I wanted to show you all our tree haul. So we were so lucky, Jason and I were so lucky to be able to go to a tree wholesaler, and we went with Michael Glassman, who is a landscape designer who's our friend, and he got us his discount, and then we also had the wholesale discount. So this is such an investment to buy all these trees, but we couldn't have done it without Michael helping us out. So huge thank you to Michael, but you can see all the trees that are going to be planted over the next month or so. So the front garden is going to be changing quite a lot. The majority of these, I think, are going into the front garden. A couple of them are going into the back garden, but man, I am just so excited because you can imagine it's going to absolutely change everything, absolutely everything. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the September front garden tour. A little bit of a walkabout, early morning. Well, it's not quite early anymore. The sun is coming up. Stay tuned for tomorrow where I'll show you all the back garden tour, and then also the thing that we've been working on the most this past month, which is organization of the metal workshop. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.